Hey everybody, Boris from BK Force. Welcome to the weekly technicals for the commodity dollars for Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, and Kiwi dollar for Sept 4th to September 8th, 2017. And this is a big week for the commodity dollars as well. Two central bank meetings, the RBA and the BOC meeting this week. RBA is probably going to be much more of a non-event, but the BOC could be a big one. And we're certainly getting a lot of action. Dollar CAD is the story of the week this week, and could very well be another big story next week if the BOC signals a much more hawkish monetary policy, a much more tighter monetary policy. Before we even get to the news, let's just take a look at the support levels, because things have moved a little bit since last week, and it's important to notice them. Aussie still remains in the 78 to 80 zone. Dollar CAD, however, has broken 24, and we're now challenging massive new support at 122. This is a long time support. And we're coming into some very key big levels as this thing continues to go down like a knife through hot butter. And Kiwi showing a lot of relative weakness here. We took out the 72s this week. That's a big takeout. And now 71 is the new support, with 73 is the key resistance. Now on the calendar, as I said, nothing much on the Kiwi side. That's pretty much going to be a non-event. But a lot of Australian data. We have obviously the RBA on Tuesday, and then we also have the GDP data. And then we also have the retail sales data in Australia as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out against the RBA monetary policy statement. But I don't expect the monetary policy statement to be anything but as closely neutral as possible. I think the RBA does not want to see, just like the ECB doesn't want to see the euro at 120 or higher, the RBA really doesn't want to see the Aussie above 80. Having said this, though, we're going to take a look at the charts here, and I am not at all bearish Aussie. Technically, the Aussie does not look bad, and I would not want to try to short at these levels. But the story of the week is going to be Wednesday with the BOC meeting. That's going to be the absolutely central story. If the Bank of Canada comes in and essentially telegraphs to the market that they are willing to take rates another 25 basis points before the end of the year, they are essentially going to be almost at parity with U.S., super bullish move to the loonie, and certainly a super bullish move to the loonie relative to all its calm dollar antipodean cousins, with Kiwi and Aussie very much underperforming the loonie as we go forward. In addition to which, we end up Friday with a massive Canadian data point of employment. Usually Canadian employment, U.S. employment are kind of on the same week, but this time, sometimes they're a week apart. And this time, the Canadian data is going to be standing by itself on a Friday. If that prints positive, that's going to come on top of much better than expected GDP numbers this week. Should be all very positive Canada. So Canada at this point looks to be the strongest bid as we look at the charts. Let's take a look at the charts here. Let's start with the Aussie first. And here's the reason why I don't like shorting the Aussie. Even though, yes, the 80 is a big resist area, and you certainly don't have a lot of risk here. You could probably short against the 80-50, 80-80. And there isn't that much risk in its failure. But when you look at this on a weekly basis, we're basically building a series of higher lows. And that's just not a constructive technical structure. They're just telling you actually there's bid underneath this Aussie. And until you see some weakness in the Aussie, you have to respect this. I mean, my point is I just want to be neutral. I don't love it to the long side. I don't love it to the short side. The techs are not really supporting a short case here. And I like to step away as much as possible. If you do want to short a calm dollar, certainly the Kiwi still looks relatively weak, possibly down to 71, really until 70.50, and 70.100 is the really big support area here. That's certainly having a lot of juice squeezed out of it. Also very much, by the way, on Aussie Kiwi flows as much as anything else, but certainly on Kiwi CAD flows. And this is really the star of the show. This is what you have to very much respect. Look at this massive flame out candle on dollar CAD, the test to the highs and the drop below the lows as we end the week. Very bullish candle towards the Canadian dollar, very bearish, obviously, dollar CAD, and you have to respect this move and think that it's reasonable possibly for us to take out all the way down 21s. And then after that, it's the very big 120 level to the downside. Is it possible to reach 120? I mean, that's a big stretch this week. You really would have to have just massively hawkish BOC, super positive Canadian data, and to add everything to the mix, oil going above 50. If you had this perfect storm of positive catalysts, maybe you could make 120. But regardless, I still think of all the trades this week, this is one of the strongest trades to the downside, certainly as we start the week. There's a lot of positive catalysts in terms of market expectation. Of course, the only thing they can completely change all that is if those things turn out to be a dud. If the BOC suddenly sounds dovish, if the employment data on Friday fails, all those things could quickly turn the whole thing around. But if we have a supportive fundamental structure, we have certainly a very supportive technical structure. And when you have the technicals and the fundamentals lining up together, it's an incredibly powerful combination of momentum. And we definitely want to join that momentum for the time being. So looking at the COM dollar land, it's still dollar CAD to the downside. It's a neutral trade on the Aussie, and it's Kiwi to the downside on a mild basis as we go forward. Watching all the central banks, that's going to be the big catalyst in the COM dollar land. Wish you guys the best luck, the best trading. Boris, over and out.